Lesson 1 for June 29 to July 5, ready for teaching on Sabbath, July 6. God Created, from the series The Least of These, Ministering to Those in Need, read today by Dr. Percy Harold. Tuesday, July 2, Stewards of the Earth. According to the Bible's record, the Garden of Eden and the newly created earth were places of abundance, created for life to flourish, and particularly for human beings to enjoy. But God also gave the first man and woman, and the rest of us who would come after them, a role to play in his creation. It quickly became obvious, and not just from his method of creation, that Adam and Eve were to have a special status in this new world. Adam was first given the job of naming the animals and birds, as we read in Genesis 2:19. Out of the ground of the Lord God formed every beast of the field and every bird of the air, and brought them to Adam to see what he would call them. And whatever Adam called each living creature, that was its name. Then he was given another role, presented as a blessing from God himself in Genesis 1:22. God blessed them and said to them, "Be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it, rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, and over every living creature that moves on the ground." Question: read and compare Genesis 1:28 and Genesis 2:15. How would you characterize the human job description in a sentence or two? Genesis 1:28 again, "Then God blessed them, and God said to them, Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. Have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves on the earth." And Genesis 2:15, "Then the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to tend and keep it." Too often in Christian history, Genesis 1:28 has been used by some as a license to exploit, even to the point of destroying the natural world. Yes, the world obviously was created for human life, benefit and enjoyment, but the human responsibility is to work it and take care of it, in the words of Genesis 2:15. When we talk about stewardship, our first thought is often about money, but the first command for stewardship in the Bible is to care for the earth that God has created and entrusted to us. The command to Adam and Eve also foresaw that the earth would be shared with their children and with future generations. In the original plan for the world, the created world would continue to be a source of life, goodness and beauty for all human beings, and Adam and Eve would have a big role in taking care of it. The earth is still the Lord's, as we read in Psalm 24 verse 1. "The earth is the Lord's and all its fullness, the world and those who dwell therein." And we are still called to be stewards of all that God has given us. Perhaps we could conclude as well that in a fallen world our responsibility as stewards is often greater. And so to finish the day, what does it mean to you to be a steward of the earth today in a fallen world? How should the realization of this responsibility affect how you live on a day-to-day basis? You have been listening to a reading of the Adult Sabbath School Bible Study Guide by Dr. Percy Harold from Queensland, Australia. This service is brought to you by Hope Channel, the Sabbath School Department and Christian Services for the Blind. Remember, God is always faithful.